So keeping that pelvis in neutral. Build a little tension into that elbow. Hard, driving forward. Every single one of these exercises is going to make your brace better. What's going on, everybody? Sam Brown here at the beautiful Elite FTS. Long time no see. It's been a little while since I made a video, but Dave had me back out here for a train your ass off, and I figured might as well use the time wisely. So for those that don't know, I'm a McGill-certified practitioner. That means that I work with injured athletes and individuals that have really, really bad lower back pain. So one of the videos I've done while I was here, I was working with Brian Carroll going over how to do the big three. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna focus more on the intent behind those exercises and a lot of the mistakes that I see when working with individuals with that low back pain. So to give you a rough idea, if you aren't aware, Dr. Stuart McGill, lower back phenom. He is the leading most expert in the lumbar spine, and he has done a ton of research in trying to understand injury mechanisms and has worked with some really top tier level athletes and individuals to get them back out of their lower back pain. So the big three consists of 3 different exercises. We have the McGill Curl Up, we have the side plank, and we have the bird dog. I know you've probably seen videos on these a million times, but the idea for today, like I said, we're going to be going over big mistakes, because what we want to do is we want to use this video to make sure that you're doing these exercises with the proper intent. And as a disclaimer, if you are suffering from a lower back injury as of right now, some of the variations, some of the things I may show you today may be a little bit more advanced than what you need. You really need to understand where you're at in your healing process and where your goals lie. All of the exercises we're going to show today can be progressed or regressed based on what you need. Use your brain. Don't want anybody getting hurt. And at the end of the day, get an assessment, understand what your mechanisms of pain are, and understand how best to use this information. So let's get right into it. Exercise number 1 is the McGill Curl Up. Like I said prior to, I'm sure you've seen this before, but we're really trying to focus in on the anterior portion of the core, right? If you're a powerlifter, if you're a strongman, if you're a strength enthusiast, what have you, understanding how to brace and position your rib cage and your pelvis is absolutely paramount to finding success in your sport. So if you are one of those people and you're interested in doing this exercise to help with that low back pain, take a lot of notes in terms of the cues that I give to make sure we have that carryover. And again, that intent is where it needs to be. So basic curl up, what we're gonna do. You're gonna be laying down flat on your back. If you're somebody with low back pain and this hurts, we can modify this as needed, but for right now, let's focus on a very basic level. What you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be putting your hands into the small of your back. The reason is we're trying to keep that neutral spine, because right now I feel a gap between my lower spine and the floor. And what we'll do, this can give you a little bit of a buffer if this position is too challenging or it hurts too much. But for this demonstration, we're just gonna keep the hands to the side. What I want you to do now is you're gonna be extending one leg. And what we'll have you do is bring your elbows off the floor. Elbows off the floor means that we are putting all the force and all the tension in the core. So from this point forward, I want you to think neutral spine, neutral rib cage, neutral pelvis. As you can see, I'm kind of arched right here. So I want to tilt my rib cage down. You're going to notice you're going to be tightening in your abs, tightening in your obliques a little bit. And then what I want to think about with my lower half is squeezing my tailbone underneath. So keeping that pelvis in neutral. You'll notice that lower back flattens out to the ground, and that's what we're looking for. So a nice neutral position, hands to the side, abs engaged, and imagine a string coming straight from your chest up to the ceiling. We're not looking for this. We're looking for imagining your head is on a scale and you want it to just read 0. So you're gonna squeeze, raise, hold. 10 seconds, come down. If you are more advanced, you may find yourself saying, hey, this isn't really doing a whole lot. Not necessarily a bad thing. What we're trying to do, and the purpose of this, is to prime that anterior core. We want to work on making the ribs and the pelvis neutral, because if you're going under a squat bar, if you're going under, if you're deadlifting, if you're lifting anything heavy, the more neutral we can keep that ribs and pelvis, the more stable we can be. So the intent of this is to work on bringing those two parts of your body in alignment and then pressurizing with air. So I'll demo with that. So like I said, one leg out, hands out to the side, bringing those elbows up, hips tucked, rib cage down, and you raise, hold. If you notice, I can talk while I'm bracing, because the brace and your air should be able to be separated. If you're brand new to this, you may have to set the hips, set the pelvis, raise the elbows, take your air, then hold. How you would break this down in terms of reps and sets: if you are newly injured or doing something for more of a rehab purpose, I would do shorter sets for more reps. Dr. McGill likes to program kind of a reverse pyramid sets, where you start with 5 rounds of 10 seconds, then you go 3 rounds of 10 seconds, and you do 1 round of 10 seconds. That's a great place to start. The idea is that we want to not necessarily exhaust your ability to maintain good position, we are priming it. We can always get more advanced with different exercises, but in terms of the big 3, as Dr. McGill has it, we're looking to create stiffness in the spine, stiffness in the musculature around the spine, and your ability to maintain those good positions. So, biggest thing that I see with this is bringing your head too far forward, just kind of putting some torque on your lower back. If your lower back hurts, you'll notice. Not correcting that pelvic positioning. That's also the other biggest thing. And then lastly is just not putting enough effort into it. Most people, if I tell them to do a curl up on their own, they're just kind of flailing their wings like a chicken, not really doing the work. Bring the attention to where it needs to be. Visualize in your mind ribs, pelvis, oxygen, tightening up the system, and you're holding for that full 10 seconds. The more intent, the more effort, the more concentration you can put into this, the more you'll get out of it. And if you're in that just recently injured phase, the faster you'll be able to feel better, move better, and lift the weights that you want. Exercise number 2 of the big 3 is the side plank. Now, this is the one, between this and the bird dog, I always go back and forth on which one gets butchered the most. I think the side plank has a little bit more nuance to it and has a tendency of people just kind of going through the motions. So, like we've been mentioning, the intent of the side plank is to stiffen the obliques and the lats and the glutes. The reason I mention all of those muscles is because we're working with all of those muscles as a system to help stabilize the spine, right? Normally, if someone's gonna set up for a side plank, they get to the side and they just pop themselves up. They're like, yay, I'm doing it. This is great. This is so fun. I'm not really feeling too much, right? I'm feeling a little bit of my obliques. My shoulder is dead. There's nothing there. Glutes aren't doing anything. Hips aren't in a good position. So how we want to do this instead, and a lot of people will see this version as a regression, but at the end of the day, if it's teaching you the right thing, if it's teaching you the right maneuvers, mechanics, and understanding how and where you're supposed to feel it, I see it as a really good learning tool to help to be able to progress over the course of time. So the cool thing about the side plank and how we teach it is that we are teaching it like a hip hinge. So this is like a sneaky way to get hinging into your day if your lower back hurts. Most people are terrified to hinge forward when their lower back hurts. This is a very, very cool way to get the body to fire and work in those ways in a much more stable position. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna start knees slightly out in front of you, elbow right under the shoulder. So talking about the shoulder here, what we wanna do is we wanna create force into the ground. The reasoning is we're looking to stabilize the shoulder using the lats, using the serratus, using the pec. So to start, I like to just build a little tension into that elbow, feel those muscles engage, feel those muscles contract, and even pulling towards me with my elbow to get a little bit more lat. Before you even get into the position, this should be your first point to really think about and to really put that effort into. So you get tight with that upper body, and then the other thing you want to do is now bring your oblique up, feeling that tension in the lat, feeling it, how it connects into that side of the body. You can feel your oblique fire. The last step is to push your hips forward. If you do it correctly, you'll be able to feel your glute. You'll be able to feel your lats. You'll be able to feel your pec. Hold for 10 seconds, rest, hinging the hips back. The biggest component of this is that hinge. So low back pain has a massive mental component to it. So if you can put yourself in situations where you are kind of breaking that mental cycle of being like, oh, I'm afraid to hinge, I'm afraid to use my hips, I'm afraid to bend forward, giving yourself these reps is a good way to continue building while you're not feeling your best, right? So biggest mistakes I see with that, not getting that upper body involved, just kind of hanging out on your shoulder. Luckily enough, I'm a multiply lifter. My shoulders feel like shit most of the time. Doing it the wrong way doesn't feel good. If you are not feeling a pump in your lats, not feeling a pump in your serratus, in your pecs, you're doing it incorrectly. You're not putting enough effort into it. Likewise, when you pull your hips up, pull those obliques up, you need to make sure that you are keeping the ribs and the pelvis aligned. Just like we did with the curl up and just like we'll do with the bird dog, keeping those 2 points in alignment is going to be huge. It's going to have the most carryover to when you get back under the bar. So third thing that people screw up a lot is that hinge. They just lift themselves up. The reason Dr. McGill likes to do the hinge and has taught us all about it is because if your lower back is severely pained, like it's hard to walk, it's hard to sit, if you just hoist yourself up, if you have any sort of disc issue, it's going to hurt really, really bad. So a lot of the nuance with these exercises are built in for those individuals that are under a lot of pain and that just day to day are really, really suffering. But if you're a power lifter, if you're a strength athlete, giving yourself a chance to use the glutes, use the core, use the upper body, lock everything down and move and hinge the hips, it's going to help ingrain that later on as we start lifting those weights again. So that was the side plank. Like I said, I like to do the reverse pyramid with that, holding for 10 seconds with really, really strong effort. If you can, if it's not too painful. If it is painful for you, you obviously want to regress in terms of that intensity, just get tight enough to do the exercise. But if you're looking to get the most out of this exercise, put as much force into the ground, get your body as tight as possible, make sure it's in a good position, and take those 10-second sets seriously. All right, last but not least is the bird dog. Now, day to day, I work with military personnel. Some have tremendous low back injuries. Others are just banged up, beat up for flying planes for the last 10, 15 years. So this is an exercise that I saw them do a ton before I got out to that base. Now everybody actually does it correctly. Most of the time with bird dogs, people are just throwing their arm. They're here, they're just kind of kicking out, swinging their arm, not putting much effort into it. The emphasis of the bird dog should be a full body movement. And once you understand the mechanics of it or the intent behind it, you're gonna find that you're gonna get way more out of less when it comes to this exercise. So, bird dog, just like everything else that we're doing, we wanna make sure we are nice and stable. So hands directly under shoulders. What we're doing here, making good contact with the ground, good force into the ground. I don't want to see your shoulders dip. This is lazy. This is not good. What we want to do is imagine for bench press, right? We want to make sure our lats are engaged. We want to make sure our rib cage and our pelvis are neutral, and we are able to stabilize our body weight. If you are doing this correctly, you should feel your traps. You should feel your lats. You should think about bringing those shoulder blades down into your back pocket like you would on a bench press. We had the side plank helping with hinging and stabilizing that hinge. Now we're working on stabilizing the upper body as well as the lower body, but thinking about bringing some of those cues from a bench press into this exercise to get the most out of it. So hands down, under shoulders. If you need to, you can go fists as well. Another good way to help kind of stabilize. So in this position, you want to make sure your shoulder blades are down, that your ribs are going to be stacked. So you're bringing that rib cage down, keeping everything nice and neutral. And what I would like to do with this is think about really trying to isolate each individual segment of your body to start. If you're brand new to this, doing it the right way, one limb at a time, is going to be more effective than trying to do arm and leg at the same time. So, focusing just on upper body, nice and strong, core engaged, tailbone tucked, rib cage down, exhale, brings that rib cage down even further. You feel your serratus, you feel your pecs, you feel your lats, and you want to sip a little bit of air, and you want to bring one arm out straight. Imagine you're trying to punch a hole in the wall in front of you. Hold for 10 seconds without moving your body, bringing that back down to neutral, resetting to that balanced position. If you do that correctly, again, just your arm, we'll go over just your leg next. If you do that well, it should be hard. It should be challenging. So now if we're going to be looking at the lower body, same position for that upper body, shoulder blades down, feel that serratus, feel the pec, long neck. What we want to do is bring one heel straight backwards. So you're going to reach with that heel. I'm not going really far high. I'm actually going just as far as I can extend that hip, driving the heel backwards, feeling that glute engage, not losing the rib cage, not losing the upper body. Holding for 10 seconds, swinging it back. Again, this is not particularly easy. There are people that this will be their version of bird dogs that they do because they don't have the neurological control to really understand where their body is in space. This is a really good teaching tool for that. But if you are a little bit more advanced, if you have had experience with this, we're going to do an arm and a leg. Same thing, knees just under hips, getting that good position, thinking about driving the shoulder blades down, pushing up against the floor, making yourself nice and tall, neck nice and long, ribs underneath, tailbone underneath, everything in alignment. And you're going to bring one arm, one leg, pointing that heel, pointing that fist, hard, driving forward. Imagine you're getting pulled by your hand, pulled by your foot. Hold, hold, hold. Bringing it back to center. See, intent is the biggest differentiating factor when you're doing these exercises. Whether you are brand new to these exercises or you're an avid lifter that has seen them for years, you can always get something out of them. The idea is you want to understand why you're doing them in the first place. Are you somebody that is injured, that is trying to get back to being healthy? You may have to modify how you do those. We also need to make sure that these exercises don't hurt you. At the end of the day, if you're in a position where you're doing something and it makes your low back pain worse, please stop. That's ridiculous. The other thing is, if you are a powerlifter or a strength athlete, you can always get some sort of a cognitive benefit to doing these in terms of making the cues feel as familiar to yourself as possible in order to get some really good carryover. Every single one of these exercises is going to make your brace better. It's designed to challenge your core from different directions. Here we're trying to get good neutral spine while challenging the core in its entirety, as well as making sure that we can maintain good position with the posterior side or the back side of our body by understanding where that rib cage is, understanding where that pelvis is, and overall just trying to be as stable as possible. The reason the bird dog has so many different variations is because everybody is going to be at a different level. If you are somebody that's brand new, what you need to focus on is doing the reps well. Everybody has all sorts of issues that they may be running into with their low back or injuries in general. And the best way to get out of pain is to understand where you're at now, understand how best you can bridge that gap, and actually putting that effort and work into those things. So if you guys have any questions at all about any of the McGill stuff, if you're interested in getting some low back assessments, I know Dr. McGill and myself do those quite a bit. We have a whole team of people that can do low back assessments for you across the country. Shoot me a message. We can kind of get over that a little bit. But other than that, guys, I appreciate your time. Hopefully you got a little something out of this, how important it is to have that intent when it comes to exercises that you do for your core, especially the big three. Just wanted to thank Elite FTS and Dave and the team for having me out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.